Hare Krishna. So we have been discussing on this seventh chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So this we discussed last time how Krishna is the source of everything. All material and spiritual energies come from Krishna. In fact, he is the source of all Vishnus also. And we discussed elaborately about creation. So in this way, Krishna is the source of everything. Then we went to the next portion wherein Krishna is telling that he is also the essence of everything. So first verse we discussed was about Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya Prabhasmi Shashi Suryayoho Pranava Sarva Vedeshu Shabda Khe Paurusham Nrishu. So Krishna is the essence of everything. Krishna is the essence of taste of water. He is the illumination of sun and moon. He is the Omkar in all the Vedic literatures. He is the sound in ether and his ability in the man. So the similar things continue in the next verses also. Okay, so please recite.
Punyo Gandha Prithiviyam Cha
Punyagandha Prathivyam Cha
Tejas Chasmi Vibhavaso
Tejaschasmi Vibhavaso
Jivanam Sarva Bhuteshu
Jivanam Sarva Bhuteshu
Tapaschasmi Tapasvishu
Tapaschasmi Tapasvishu.
Translation: I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire, and the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. First part. Punya means that which is not decomposed. Punya is original. Everything in this material world has a certain flavor or fragrance, as the flavor and fragrance in a flower or in the earth. The uncontaminated flavor, the original flavor which permeates everything is Krishna. Similarly, everything has a particular original taste. This taste can be changed by the mixture of chemicals. So everything original has some smell, some fragrance and some taste. Vibhavasu means fire. Without fire we cannot run factories, we cannot cook, etc. And that fire is Krishna. The heat in the fire is Krishna. According to the Vedic medicine, indigestion is due to low temperature in the belly. So even for digestion, fire is needed. In Krishna consciousness, we become aware that earth, water, air, and every active principle, all chemicals and all material elements are due to Krishna. The duration of man's life is also due to Krishna. Therefore, by the grace of Krishna, man can prolong his life and diminish it. So Krishna consciousness is active in every sphere.
Yeah. So Krishna continues to speak about how he is the essence of everything. So we know that earth is also one of the elements of Krishna, right? Prithvi, Bhumi, Rapo, Analo, Vayu, right? So Krishna was telling about how earth is also Krishna's energy. So now he is telling that he has imbued the earth with variety of fragrances. So not only earth is Krishna's energy, but the fragrance which earth gives, that also comes from Krishna. So we see that there are so many fragrances, and all the fragrances come from earth only, actually. So if you plant a rose seed, the rose seed has no fragrance, right? The seed of the rose, it has got no fragrance. Even if you cut it into pieces, no fragrance will come. But then we put it under earth, add water. Water also has no fragrance, right? The water also doesn't have fragrance. But if we put, if we put the seed in the earth and add water to it, then the fragrant rose will bud from the bush, isn't it? And similarly, from the same earth, if we put jasmine seed, the jasmine fragrance will come. So in this way, every yield, it blooms with unique and wonderful fragrances, but all these fragrances are released from earth only. Earth is the source of all these fragrances. So that's how Krishna is telling here that how, actually of course we see that the original fragrance is the fragrance of earth. Especially when the first rain comes. Before that, due to summer heat, a lot of, the earth is practically cracked. There are so many cracks in the earth. It's dried up like anything and nothing is visible. No vegetation. It's burning hot. And then when the raindrops come, so that time what happens? That the earth starts giving fragrance. And that fragrance is the original, most wonderful fragrance, which nobody has imitated also, as far as I know. Till now, it has not been imitated. So that's how the earth itself has a fragrance, but apart from that, earth is the source of all fragrance also. Like that. So Prabhupada is saying here the punya refers to uncontaminated original flavor, smell or taste which permeates everything. So punya means which is not decomposed or that which is original. So original fragrance is coming from earth. Then vibhavasau. Vibhavasau means fire. The heat of the fire is also coming from Supreme Lord. So the essence of fire is heat, and which is necessary for us to cook our food. Or, okay, not only the food, but everything. There is heat is required everywhere, isn't it? That's why in the cold countries there are a lot of problems, because they say, oh, there is no heat over here. They have to put a lot of heaters. Isn't it? So, heat is necessary to cook our food. Heat is required everywhere. In fact, within our body also certain temperature has to be maintained. So when the person dies, generally what happens? His body becomes totally cold because there is no heating element in the body. So the heat is maintaining us also. Then because of that heat, we are able to digest the food. So that is the fire of digestion. And that is also Krishna's energy. So Prabhupada includes all the heat, basically. Fire in the factories, fire required during cooking, or digestive fire within our body. All is due to the heat coming up, the heat element of that fire. Essence of that fire is Krishna, he's saying. And Prabhupada is pointing out how indigestion is due to low temperature in the belly. So belly, many people sometimes when they face constipation problem or digestion doesn't happen, means what? Digestive fire is poor. So that's why Ayurvedic medicines, they majorly focus on increasing digestive power. So they'll say take amla juice, they'll tell to take some acidic elements so that digestive fire can increase. So, but again, that is basically coming from the Lord. And then life of all living beings. So Krishna is the life of all living beings also. Jivanam sarva bhuteshu. So yeah. So life, we see that life is because of spirit soul, and duration of man's life is also due to Krishna, because without spirit soul's presence, nobody can live. So it's because of spirit soul being present that everybody is living. And by Krishna's grace only, one can prolong or diminish one's life. So nobody can decide his own life, right? Isn't it? It is all coming from the Lord. So soul, which is the essence of life, is an also energy of Lord. Parastasmatu bhavanya. Oh no, apaya mitrastanya pasatim vidhi me param. Jiva bhuta mahabhavo. Krishna is saying that the essence of life is that is soul, which is also energy of Krishna. Then ascetics. The essence of ascetics life is penance, or his ability to tolerate austerities. Right? So many austerities people do, isn't it? These ascetics people do a lot of austerities, but they have to tolerate a lot. Austerity means tolerance has to be there, right? Austerity cases, they may feel hungry, but they have to tolerate hunger, they have to tolerate thirst, they have to tolerate the different changes of seasons and temperatures. They have to tolerate mind, they have to tolerate other disturbances, isn't it? So all that tolerating is required. So the ability to tolerate austerities is also coming from Krishna. Krishna is saying. So that ability to do penances and austerities also is the product of Krishna's presence. So this is how Krishna is saying that he is essence of all these things also. He is essence of earth, that is fragrance. He is essence of fire, that is heat. He is essence of all living entities, that is spirit, soul. And he is the essence of all ascetics, that is penance. Like that he is telling. Okay, so let us go to the next verse now.
हरि बोल. बीजामां सर्वभूताना
बीजं मां सर्वभूतानां
विद्धि पार्थ सनातनम.
विद्धि पार्थ सनातनम.
बुद्धि बुद्धिमतामस्मि.
बुद्धिर्बुद्धिमतामस्मि.
तेजस तेजस्विनामहम्.
तेजस तेजस्विनामहम्.
Translation. O son of Partha, know that I am the original seed of all existence, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful man. Purport. Can you scroll up? Yeah. Bijam means seed. Krishna is the seed of everything. There are various living entities, movable and inert. Birds, beasts, men, and many other living creatures are moving living entities. Trees and plants, however, are inert. They cannot move, but only stand. Every entity is contained within the scope of 8,400,000 species of life. Some of them are moving and some of them are inert. In all cases, however, the seed of their life is Krishna. As stated in Vedic literature, Brahman, or the supreme absolute truth, is that from which everything is emanating. Krishna is Param Brahma, the
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Am I audible now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yeah. Krishna is Parabrahman, the supreme spirit. Brahman is impersonal and Parabrahman is personal. Impersonal Parabrahman is situated in the personal aspect that is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, originally Krishna is the source of everything. He is the root. As the root of tree maintains the whole tree, Krishna, being the original root of all things, maintains everything in this material manifestation. This is also confirmed in the Vedic literature, Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. Nityo nityanam senan sentanam iko buddhinam yo vidhi bhakti kamanan. Can you scroll up, Prabhu? He is the prime. He is the prime eternal among all eternals. He is the supreme living entity of all living entities. He alone is maintaining all life. One cannot do anything without intelligence, and Krishna says that he is the root of all intelligence. Unless a person is intelligent, he cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna.
Yeah. So seed, Prabhupada is writing that Bijam means seed. Seed of material existence is Pradhan. So we discussed this last time that creation, the original seed of everything is Pradhan, which contains aggregation of all the material elements, which is undifferentiated sum total of all material elements. And Krishna is saying, I am that also. Yeah. And that's how that is the seed of all 8.4 million species. And even from Vedic literature, Prabhupada is quoting that Brahman is the source of everything. Everything emanates from Brahman. So, but Krishna is the Parabrahman who is a source of Brahman also, the Supreme Spirit. So, Brahmano hi pratishtaham, Krishna says. So, impersonal Brahman is situated in the personal aspect of the Lord. So in this way, Brahman is the root of everything and Krishna is the source of Brahman. In this way, Krishna is the original root of everything that exists and is the maintainer of everything. So, then Krishna is saying that intelligence of intelligent is him only. And prowess of all powerful men is Krishna, he is saying. So, we see actually what is the practical application of all this is that when we see anything extraordinary, we should not become envious. We have to understand that everything is coming from Krishna. So the person who is getting power from Krishna. The person who is getting intelligence, so some person is very intelligent, we have to know that it is coming from Krishna. When we see that some person is getting a lot of power or a lot of talent, that is coming from Krishna. So in this way, Krishna is the source of all powerful men, the source of all intelligent men. And he is the, so in this way, the essence of everybody or the special quality of everybody is coming from Krishna. So when we know this, then we learn to become non-envious because we know that this person has been given a special opulence by the Lord himself. So I do not have to envy him because that is granted to him by the Lord. So in this way, one can get rid of the envy towards other living entities, especially when we see somebody is more powerful, more talented, more intelligent than us. Generally, we tend to become envious of them. But when we understand that it has been bestowed by Krishna unto him, and it is coming from Krishna, so then we learn to appreciate that without being envious, without being jealous of that person. So this is how Krishna is the source of practically every essence of everything is actually coming from Krishna. So the active living principle is coming from Krishna. The strength, the talent, the power, the intelligence, these are all coming from Krishna only. So, yeah, the next verse now.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
बल बलवता चाहम कामराग
Balam balavata chaham. We will repeat after you.
Yes.
Yeah, please again start.
बल बलवता चाहम
Balam balavata chaham.
कामराग विवर्जितम
Kamaraga vivarjitam.
धर्मा विरुद्धो भूतेषु
Dharma viruddho bhuteshu.
कामोस्मि भरतर्षभ
Kamosmi bharatarshava.
I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principle. O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna. Purport. The strong man's strength should be applied to protect the weak, not for personal aggregation. Similarly, sex life according to religious principle, dharma, should be for the propagation of children, not otherwise. The responsibility of parent is then to make their offspring Krishna consciousness. Next.
Yeah. So, here Krishna is telling that the strength of the strong, which is devoid of passion, kama raga vivarjita, passion and attachment, it is devoid of lust and attachment, such a strength coming from Krishna. So this such strength is always applied to protect the weak and not for aggression. So we see that the Kshatriyas in the previous times, they used to be using that power, their strength, in order to protect. Kshatriya, word Kshatriya means one who protects from the harm. They'd use it to protect the citizens, to protect dharma, to protect the occupational duties and to protect the soul of a person. So for this they would use, and that's why everything in the Vedic times, all the wars and all were fought on this principle of protection, to protect dharma, to protect the God's property, to protect spiritual lives of people. So everything was done with that purpose. But then modern times we see that most of the time the people who have the strength, they use it for personal aggression. Sometimes they have this Shivaji Maharaj or Sambhaji, whatever, their celebration of their birthday, they say. And then on that time, you'll see many people, they go on the bike, they still drive, like with high, accelerator, they will drive the bike and, it will be like, as if they're all gundas only. So that is not Kshatriya. Kshatriya is not a gunda, Gunda is not, just because somebody has become a gunda type person doesn't mean that he has become Kshatriya. No, it's not like that. So actually this thing is coming from Krishna, that the strength comes from Krishna, and that strength is given by Krishna to help the society flourish. Though when these great kings like Shivaji Maharaj, they would come, they would not create terror in the hearts of people, like these modern gundas are doing in the name of Shivaji Maharaj. They would not create terror. They would invoke, affection. They would invoke respect. From only the thieves would be afraid of such people, of the king. But otherwise, from a general people, they would invite affection, respect, towards them. But then nowadays it has become opposite. It has become like a gundagardi only. People think Kshatriya means gundagardi. But that's not the way Kshatriya principle is. Then similarly, this regulated sex life. So the regulated sex life, according to religious principles, means which is used for propagation of Krishna conscious children. When husband and wife, they come together, perform proper Garbhadhan Sanskar and invite proper Krishna conscious children, that type of sex life is also non-different than Krishna. So sometimes people also, so of course modern days nobody does their Garbhadhan Sanskar, and because of that there is so much of irreligious population has come. The Varna Sankara, which we discussed in first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it has come because of lack of Garbhadhan Sanskar, because of lack of proper understanding of sex life. But the sex life which is done according to such religious principles, that is Krishna only. So sometimes people, they go to other extreme, hating all types of sex life. No, the sex life which is religious sex life, that is appreciated. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur would say, if I could produce Krishna conscious children, I would produce hundreds of children. There is nothing wrong about it, like that. So that type of sex life is also pure. There is a purified sex life. What is that purified sex life? A purified sex life is to beget the spirit souls, who are devotees of the Lord or who are Krishna conscious. To beget them, that type of sex life is a purified sex life. So one should not equate purified sex life with the impure sex life. Impure sex life is done only for satisfaction of the senses, genitals basically, and mind, but or sense of touch. But that is not pure. But that is impure. But the sex life which is done to beget servants of Krishna in one's family, so that is a purified sex life. And Krishna says, I am that. So one should not develop aversions towards such sex life also. So when Shivananda Sen, he was coming, so although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict with Chota Haridas, right? That he even got a thought of woman and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected him. But then when Shivananda Sen came, he informed Mahaprabhu that his wife was pregnant. And Mahaprabhu was very happy. And he said, when your son will be born, give him the name Puridas. And next year when Shivananda Sen came, his son was born, Puridas, who became later known as Kavi Karnapur. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to see him. And Mahaprabhu gave personally his own toe for child he put the toe of his feet on child's mouth to suck. So in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very affectionately dealt with the children of Advaita Acharya, Srivas Thakur, or it may be Shivananda Sen. So in this way, he never condemned such religious sex life. He appreciated that. So in this way, we have to have a very appropriate understanding of how things are appropriate and proper. So when the strength is proper, when the strength is improper. When the sex life is proper, when the improper sex life is improper. And when they are properly utilized, that essence is Krishna. So the strength of that strong is Krishna. That regulated sex life is Krishna. When it is done to produce Krishna conscious children. And in this way, Krishna manifests himself in varieties of ways. So, so in this way, these verses are giving us the summary that Krishna is the essence and origin of all. So now the next verses will tell us about how Krishna is still not within the modes. Although Krishna is telling, I am this, I am that, but most of the things which are mentioned here, they are within the three modes of material nature. But next Krishna is telling, he is not within the modes, although he is the source and essence of everything. Yeah, please read ahead.
Prashant Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prashant Prabhu.
Yes, bro.
Yeah,
Yes.
please start.
ये चैव सात्विका भावा
ये चैव सात्विका भावा
राजसास्तामसाश्च ये
राजसास्तामसाश्च ये
मत्त एवेति तान् विद्धि
मत्त एवेति तान् विद्धि
न त्वहं तेषु ते मयि
न त्वहं तेषु ते मयि.
Translation. Know that all states of being, be they goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. Purport. All material activities in the world are being conducted under the three modes of material nature. Although these material modes of nature are emanation from the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is not subject to them. For instance, under the state laws, one may be punished, but the king, the lawmaker, is not subject to that law. Similarly, all the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are emanation from the Supreme Lord, Krishna. But Krishna is not subject to material nature. Therefore, he is a nirguna, which means that these gunas or the modes, although issuing from him, do not affect him. That is one of the special characteristic of a Bhagwan or the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, so Radheshyam Prabhu, for previous whole thing, Radheshyam Prabhu had given one nice this thing, PPT. So I just shared that. I hope you are able to see.
Yes.
So this is the series of 4 verses, 8 to 11. So first one is how Krishna is saying how I am the taste of water. Then Prabha, Shashi and Surya. Krishna is the Prabha of that. Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. Paurusham Rushunam. This fellow doing gym. Punya Gandha Pratibhya. Fragrance of earth. Tejas Chasni Vibhavasau. The heat of the fire. Yeah, tapas chasmi tapas vishu. Bija mam sarva bhutanam. Original seed of all existences. You see, so many species are coming, isn't it? Buddhir buddhimatam asmi. It's Newton. Apple is falling. Tejas Tejas Vinamaham. Boxing. The special talents or power. The powerful people. Balam Balavata Chaham Kamaraga Vivarjitam. These are kings. How the saintly kings use their strength only to protect weak, not to show personal aggression. Dharma Viruddha Bhutesu Kamosmi Bharatarsha. Yeah. So Krishna is beyond these modes. He is not within these 3 modes of material nature, he is telling. So we have understood now that Krishna is both the cause and essence of everything. But here Krishna is summarizing that everything under his control, including three modes of material nature, which is in control this world. So three modes are controlling this material world, and Krishna is controlling the three modes of material nature also. So this verse ends the Krishna's discussion of his para and apara energies, spiritual and material energies. So Prabhupada in the purport is telling that how to realize the Lord impersonally. So Prabhupada is saying that the Lord can be realized impersonally by preliminarily by perceived through different energies. So Krishna is all pervasive by his material and spiritual energies. Just like sun, the sun is perceived by sunshine. How we know that the sun has been risen? Because of sunshine, right? So for the universal perception, the Lord is perceived through different energies. So sometimes people may ask, can you show me God? Yes, God can be seen through all these things, through his various energies. So in this way, Prabhupada told that there is no contradiction between personal and impersonal aspects. So they are simultaneously present in everything. What is the personal aspect? The form of the Lord is personal aspect. What is impersonal aspect? Impersonal aspect is the energy of the Lord. And in this way, there is no this thing. So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. And Krishna is called as Nirguna. Nirguna doesn't mean that he doesn't possess any qualities, but the word Nirguna means, the word Nirguna worship is very famous. The word Nirguna means he is not affected by the three modes. This is one of the special characteristics of Lord, that he is not affected by the three modes. Although he is the essence of everything, he is the source of everything, but yes, the source is not affected by the creation, right? So Lord is not affected by the three modes. In fact, three modes are created by the Lord, and these three modes are directing each and every activity of this world. So as Prabhupada is giving analogy that the lawmaker is not subject to the laws. Just like in the company, there may be a parking place, and everybody must park over there only. He cannot park anywhere else, right? But when the owner of the company comes, he can park anywhere. He can bring the car up to the gate of company also, right? He may bring the car up to the lift also, isn't it? So one man cannot say to him, oh, what is this? No, don't you know what is a parking place? No, because he's the owner of the company. So for him, there is no law is there. So laws is for others, but one who is creator of the law, who is the maker of the law, is not subject to the laws. So in this way, all the modes, they emanate from the Supreme Lord, and that's why he is not subordinate to them. All these modes are subordinate to the Supreme Lord. So this ends the second section of this chapter, and now the third section begins. These next two verses, 13 and 14, are the third section of this chapter. What is that? Krishna controls the modes, so surrender. That is the theme of this third section. So we know that these three modes are Krishna's potencies, just now we discussed. And because of these three modes, what is happening? That all the conditioned souls in this world, they are kept in illusion. They are in the illusion that I am very great, I am this, I am that, I am like this, I am like that. So this is the illusion. So these are all because of the influence of three modes of material nature. Now, in order to be free from their influence, we must take shelter of Krishna. That is the way. So, to the degree we take shelter of Krishna, to the degree we surrender to Krishna, to that degree we will become free from the modes. Otherwise, it is very difficult. So, we understood that Krishna is both the cause and the essence of everything. And then Krishna summarized in the last verse, adding that everything is under his control, including the three modes of material nature, which in turn control this world. Now, in this way, the whole discussion of Krishna's seeing the source of all energy is over, now one may wonder why we are prevented from seeing, knowing and surrendering to Krishna if he is one way or another everywhere. If Krishna is everywhere, because we see in practically in everything Krishna is present, then why we can't see him? Why can't we know him properly? And what is the obstacle in surrendering him? So Krishna answers those questions in these next two verses, 13th and 14th. Yeah, so please recite verse number 13. त्रिभिर्दुगुणमयैर्भावैर् एभिः सर्वमिदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्.
Translation.
Hare Krishna.
Entity under the influence of material nature has a particular type of body and a particular type of psychological and biological activities accordingly. There are four classes of men functioning in the three material modes of nature. Those who are purely in the mode of goodness are called Brahmanas. Those who are purely in the mode of passion are called Kshatriyas. Those who are in the mode of both passion and ignorance are called Vaishyas. Those who are completely in ignorance are called Shudras. And those who are less than that are animals or animal-like. However, these designations are not permanent. I may be either a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or whatever. In any case, this life is temporary. But although we in the next life, by the spell of this illusory energy, we consider ourselves in terms of this bodily conception of life, and we thus think that we are American, Indian, Russian, or Brahmana, Hindu, Muslim, etc. And if we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is behind all these modes. So Lord Krishna says that living entities deluded by these three modes of nature do not understand that behind the material background is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many different kinds of living entities, human beings, demigods, animals, etc. And each and every one of them is under the influence of material nature. And all of them have forgotten the, the transcendent the transcendent personality of Godhead. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, and even those who are in the mode of goodness, do not go beyond the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truth. They are bewildered before the Supreme Lord in his personal feature, which possesses all beauty, opulence, knowledge, strength, fame, and renunciation. When even those who are in the even those who are in goodness cannot understand, what hope is there for those in passion and ignorance? Krishna consciousness is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature, and those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated.
Yeah. So the reason Krishna is telling why one is able to not know Krishna, because the living entities are deluded by the modes. Mohitam nabhijanati. Because they are deluded by three modes, that's why they cannot understand Krishna. So, rather than thinking of Krishna as the source of everything, these deluded people, what they think that I am the subject to the modes of nature. And Krishna is also subject to the modes of nature. They think like that. So they also say that, देखो कृष्णा को भी जन्म लेना पड़ा, देखो कृष्णा को भी मरण यातना सहन करना पड़ा. Like that, this is because of their simply delusion. So they say that some Jain people, they say that Krishna went to hell because he caused the war. Balram went to heaven because he ran away from the war. So Krishna caused himsa, so he went to hell. Balram caused ahimsa, so he went to heaven. So these are all simply, delusory concepts, which are not approved by the Shastras. So that's why Krishna is very clearly explaining. So why, although people know and realize him as the essence of God, why people cannot know him, although he is everywhere? So the main reason is because they are bewildered by the three modes. So they think that Krishna is also under the modes. Like I am under the modes, so Krishna is also like under the modes. But you have to know that Krishna, he is above the modes and he is inexhaustible. That is the real position of Krishna. Just like the Prime Minister, when he comes into jail, the other people in the jail, they should not think that Prime Minister abhi ye bhi aa gaya. Like, abhi ye bhi hamare saman hi hai, isko bhi jail mein dal diya. No, he has not come to jail, to get imprisoned because of some kind of, wrong act. He has come to jail to give you some advice, and he is free. He is still as free as he is outside. But because you are there in the jail, so that's why he has come to rescue you and to help you out, to give you some sadupadesh. So one cannot think that he is also under the laws of jail. So that would be foolishness from the side of the person who is inmate of the jail. So same way, when Krishna comes, he is not like one of us in this world. He is always free from the contaminations. He is always free from three modes. But he comes in order to just uplift us. So, but people who are deluded by the modes means they identify themselves with particular type of body and its type of psychological and biological activity. Like, considering ourselves to be Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanprastha, Sannyas, or Indian, Chinese, American, etc., etc., or community, Maratha community or Brahman community, or whatever. So various belonging to various communities or, varnas or nations, to identify ourselves based on that is basically called as deluded by the modes. So what is the result of such delusion? The result of such delusion is one forgets Supreme Lord who is beyond the three modes. And they don't understand that this material nature is not all in all. What material nature people are seeing, that is not all in all. Beyond material nature is Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even those who are mode of goodness, even they cannot, those who are deluded by mode of goodness, even they cannot understand the Supreme Lord perfectly. What to speak of those in mode of passion and ignorance? Even those who are goodness, they also get at the max elevated to the concept of impersonal Brahmajyoti. That is the maximum of their reach. And one is even conditioned by happiness and knowledge, even in mode of goodness. Even they cannot understand Supreme Lord fully. So even we see that demigods, Name Vidu Suraganaha, Krishna will say further ahead, that even the big demigods who are in the mode of goodness, they cannot also understand Lord. So only one who is truly established in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says, he is actually liberated. Because what happens by practicing Krishna consciousness, one transcends the three modes of material nature. One goes beyond three modes of material nature. And only when one comes on that transcendental spiritual platform, then on that platform actually we can understand Krishna also. So this is the special feature of the Supreme Lord, which cannot be understood by every person, but it can be understood only by devotional service. Yeah, the next verse, 14th verse.
दैवी हेषा गुणमयी
दैवी हेषा गुणमयी
मम माया दुरत्यया
मम माया दुरत्यया
मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते
मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते
मायामेतां तरन्ति ते.
मायामेतां तरन्ति ते.
This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. But the Supreme Person
Haribol.
Chitro,
sorry. Shall I read from purport? Sorry, I couldn't realize I was on mute.
Yeah. Purport you can
The Sup-
start with.
Oh, okay. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although the living entities are part of his energies and are therefore divine, due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal superior nature of the Lord, but due to contamination by the inferior nature, matter, their illusion is also eternal. The conditioned soul is therefore called Nityabadha or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of his being conditioned at a certain date in a material history. Consequently, his release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult, even though that material nature is an inferior energy, because material energy is ultimately conducted by the supreme will, which the living entity cannot overcome. Inferior material nature is defined herein as a divine nature due to its divine connection and movement by the divine will. Being conducted by divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation. The Vedas confirm this as follows. Mayam tu prakritim vidyan mayinam tu maheshwaram. Although Maya illusion is false or temporary, the background of Maya is the superior magician, the personality of Godhead, who is Maheshwar, the supreme controller. Shvetavashatar Upanishad 4.10. Another meaning of gun is a rope. It is to be understood that the conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be held by a person who is unbound, because the bound cannot help the bound. The rescuer must be liberated. Therefore, only Lord Krishna or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul. Without such superior help, one cannot be freed from the bondage of material nature. Devotional service or Krishna consciousness can help one gain such release. Krishna, being the Lord of the illusory energy, can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders this release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul and out of his paternal affection for the living entity who is originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. The words Mama, Mama Eva are also significant. Mama means Krishna, Vishnu only, and not Brahman or Shiv. Sorry, not Brahma or Shiv. Although Brahma or Shiv are greatly elevated and are almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnations of Rajagun, passion, and Tamagun, ignorance, to release the conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. In other words, both Brahma and Shiv are also under the influence of Maya. Only Vishnu is the master of Maya. Therefore, he alone can give release to conditioned soul. The Vedas, Shvetashvatara Upanishad 3.8 confirm this in the phrase Tam eva vidhitva, or freedom is possible only by understanding Krishna. Even Lord Shiv affirms that liberation can be achieved only by the mercy of Krishna. Lord Shiv says, Mukti pradata sarvesham Vishnur eva na samshayah. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone.
Yeah. So last was described that the reason why Jivas, although Krishna is present everywhere, but bad living entities are not able to perceive him because they are deluded by mohitam. Mohitam means they are deluded by modes. That's why they cannot understand Krishna. Then how one can come out of the modes and understand Krishna is when we surrender unto Krishna. Without that, one cannot overcome this maya. Maam prapadyante, Lord says. So, the three modes bind us tightly to this material world. Prabhupada says guna means also rope. So rope is made strong. How it is made strong? By weaving several strands, isn't it? Then we have, suppose if we have 2-3 strands only, then the rope may be a little weaker. But if you put several strands, in Marathi we call it as door. One is dori. Dori is a smaller one. But the door is pakka, sometimes in order to draw the water from well, they use a very strong rope, right? So it is contained of various strands of the rope. Similarly, these modes, when they are woven together, strongly bind the crystals to each of the three modes, all the so many strands of the three. So, but despite the modes are very strong, despite the modes may be very, very strong, still they can be overcome by surrender. That is possible. So it is not that, the modes can permanently bind us. But then to whom living entity should surrender? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Krishna is touching his chest like this and saying, Maam eva, surrender only unto me, Sham Sundar, nobody else. So later on in this chapter, Krishna will criticize those who lack proper knowledge and therefore surrender to demigods or impersonal Brahman. So Krishna is very frankly telling here that you have to surrender only to me. So in the purport, Prabhupada is, the whole theme of this verse is that how to get rid of free of modes and how to understand Krishna. So in order, by our own endeavors, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. Very difficult to get out of the three modes. But then it becomes easy if we surrender unto Krishna. So, so in the purport, Prabhupada says that conditioned souls are called Nitya Baddha. Why Nitya Baddha? Because they are under the material energy. So this material energy is also divine. It is eternal. So it's actually the same form only. So like when Krishna was born, so along with him Yoga Maya was also born, isn't it? To Yashoda, correct? Krishna was born to Devaki, Yoga Maya was born to Yashoda. So but when Yoga Maya came to Mathura in exchange, and then Kamsa was trying to hit her against the rock, she immediately flew in the sky and she manifested the form of Durga. So one may say, oh, there was a Yoga Maya, then how Mahamaya has come? Durga is Mahamaya, right? She is not Yoga Maya. But there is no difference between Yoga Maya and Mahamaya from the point of view of Krishna, because both are divine energies of the Lord. There is no difference, so they can manifest, like that. And that's why even before also Krishna, when he is telling Yoga Maya to transfer Balramji from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini, that time also Krishna is telling her that you will be known as Amba, Ambika, Chandi, Vaishnavi, Narayani, so many various names Krishna gives. So these are names of Durga. So these are all, but there is basically, that's why they both are same only. Only for conditioned souls, Mahamaya acts. On material level, Mahamaya acts. On spiritual level, Yogamaya acts. But both of them are same. So like Prabhupada used to say that, used to give analogy, just like the same electricity is used for heating in a heater, and in refrigerator it is used for cooling, right? The electricity is same. So similarly, the energy is the same. It is used to bind the conditioned soul, or it is another energy is used to liberate the conditioned souls. So material energy is also divine and it is eternal. So that's why conditioned souls are under this material energy since time immemorial. Nobody can trace out since how long they have been conditioned. That's why they are called as Nitya Baddha. They are almost like eternally conditioned. There is almost no chance of them coming out. But of course, the word eternally is not exactly the word. Nitya Baddha means they have been conditioned for very, 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 very long time. Like the demigods are also called as eternal, Amar. So that doesn't mean that they never die, but they live a very, very long life as compared to human beings. Only as compared to this world, the conditioned souls are conditioned in this world for such a long time. That's why they are like almost conditioned forever. But then, that's why Krishna is telling, but then still, although they may be Nitya Baddha like this, still they can overcome this material energy by the supreme will of the Supreme Lord. So, why this material energy is called as divine? Prabhupada says, because she has got divine connection and she moves by the divine will of the Lord. Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka Chaye Vayasya Bhuvanani Vibharati Durga Ichha Nurupam Apiyasya Sacheshtate Sa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So, what is she? Srishti Sthiti Sadhana Shakti Reka. She is the energy which is creating, maintaining and destroying this universe. Chaya Eva Yasya. She is the shadow of Supreme Lord. Bhuvanani Vibharati Durga. In this material world, this Durga Devi, she is the shadow. But she is acting always according to the desire of the Lord. So because of that, she is also divine. So she has the divine connection because she is energy of the Lord. So she is divine. And she always does her activities by the will of the Lord. That's why she is also called as divine. And what is she? She consists of the three modes of material nature. So these modes are called as gunas. So somebody who is tightly bound by guna ropes, he cannot free himself generally, right? If somebody has tightly bound us, nobody can free us. We cannot free ourselves, nor any other bound person can free us also, right? Sometimes if 2-3 people are bound, then we cannot free also ourselves, and other people who are similarly bound, they cannot also free us. But then only the person who is liberated, only he can free us. Only he can rescue us. So when who is free, he can rescue the person who is bound, not the person who is already bound. So because Krishna is free from the three modes, that's what we discussed in previous verse, so he can rescue us from this conditioning of material world. Either Krishna or his pure representative, bona fide representative, only they can rescue us. And how they can rescue us? So they give us another rope. We are like fallen into this ocean of material existence. So they can help us. They can give the process of devotional service. With the process of devotional service, they free us. They give a process by which we can become free from these three modes. So Krishna, when he gives that devotional service, when he gives us that means by which we can be released, he gives so because of his paternal affection for living entity, because he showers causeless mercy on the surrendered soul. So Mameva Prapadyante, those who surrender unto Krishna, Krishna showers his causeless mercy on such surrendered soul, and then out of such affection on such surrendered soul, then Krishna orders his energies to release the conditioned soul. So he says, "No tomara ichaya vasha." Prabhupada, this is tomara ichaya hoya sab maya vasha. Tomara ichaya Bodo Kripa. By your will, all the living entities are bound, and it is only by your will, Prabhupada says, that living entities can be freed. So when a living entity surrenders unto the Lord, understanding that I cannot overcome this material energy because she is so insurmountable, I cannot. No one can cross ocean by himself, right? Really, nobody can cross this ocean of material existence. Nobody can actually free oneself from material clutches of material energy. But only when we surrender to Krishna, then by his causeless mercy, he helps us become free. So, so Krishna is the owner, isn't it, of this material energy? And when we reform, basically because if a living entity is not surrendered, then Krishna orders material energy, that he can be bound. But when that conditioned soul is reformed by surrendering to Krishna, then Krishna tells this material energy, इसको छोड़ दो अभी, ये सुधर गए ये अभी, इनको छोड़ दो, इनको मत पकड़ो अभी. Like that Krishna tells. So that's why he is using the word Mam Eva, surrender only to Krishna, not even to Brahma or Shiva. Because why? Because they are also under material energy. Although Shiva is husband of goddess of Durga, goddess Durga, but still sometimes he comes under her clutches. So we see sometimes that picture is there wherein Shiva is lying and Durga is so angry that she is putting her feet on Shiva and doing Tandav Nritya. So sometimes Shiva also has to come under material energy. But only person who is above Brahma, Shiva and Durga is Lord Vishnu, because he is the master of Maya. So he is not under material energy. So that's why Vedas say what? That one can transcend the modes only by understanding Krishna. And this very important aphorism, Lord Shiva says, Mukti Pradata Sarvesham Vishnu Revana Sanshayah. Very important verse. Everybody should know this aphorism also. Because many people will say that, oh, this is supreme, that is supreme. But we see Lord Shiva is himself declaring, Mukti Pradata Sarvesham Vishnu Revana Sanshayah. Nobody except for Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation. So that's why even Brahma and Shiva cannot help, because they are almost on the level of Vishnu, because they are Gunavataras, they are almost on the level of Vishnu, but they are incarnations of Rajoguna and Tamoguna, and that's why they cannot help also. So they are also under the influence of Maya. So because Vishnu is master of Maya, so only by the order of Vishnu one can be released from this material existence, this material energy. So that's why surrendering to Lord Vishnu or Krishna is the highest principle, in devotional service, by which one can be totally free from the clutches of material energy. So in this we have covered these verses also. This section ends over here. This is very important verse, very famous verse, very important verse. The verse to be memorized. Daivi Hesha Gunamai Maya Duratya Mame Vaye Prapadyanti Maya Mitam Taranti. Prabhupada so many times quoted this verse. Again and again, often he would quote this verse also. So very important verse. So another example somewhere I heard in this regard is that sometimes the trespasser, he may come and then the dog is there in the trespasser. So that dog starts barking at and attacking that person who comes. But then if the master tells the dog, no, Tommy, don't trouble him, he's my friend, then immediately the dog will become peaceful. Then this material nature is attacking us always, Maya Devi, and she is torturing us. But then if Krishna tells her, hey, don't worry, Maya Devi, he is now nice soul, he's a surrendered soul, he's a good soul, leave him. Then Maya Devi will not trouble us. She will not give us any torture. So whole world is being tortured by Maya Devi, but they don't know what is the solution. They think that somehow or other, if I could, they think that if I could somehow, apply various tactics and intelligence, I can unwind myself. Although I am bound, I can unbound myself. I can free myself from the ropes, of three modes. But then they don't know that it is not possible. It is only possible by Lord's mercy. Only Krishna can make us bound. So people are very eager to get rid of the three modes. Indirectly, they don't know that they are bound by three modes also. But indirectly, they are trying to get it out through various arrangements. But further they are making arrangements, the further they are getting entangled. Like that. So once upon a time, one small baby cat was playing with the ball of wool, and then that cat got the cat was pouncing on that ball of wool, and that wool got the wool came out, and then the cat started getting entangled into that wool, and so much the cat was caught up into that network of wool practically, and more it was trying this way, that way, this way, that way, it was getting more and more entangled, and then finally the cat was crying very piteously. And then the master came and he removed that wool threads from the cat, and then cat became free. The same way conditioned soul is very eager to have that freedom, to have unrestricted life, to have very free life. So but he doesn't know the way. He is उलझ रहे हैं खुद को, तो सुलझाने का प्रयत्न कर रहे हैं, पर क्या हो रहा है, सुलझाने के वजह से जगह पे उलझ रहे हैं ज्यादा, और they are getting more and more complicated in this world. But when one surrenders unto the Lord, then the Lord will just remove that, complications. So they don't know this technique of coming out. They are making various ways and means that, let us have more and more different solutions through technology or through scientific advancement or through mental speculation. They are inventing various means to get out of these clutches of mortal energy. But none of them are going to be successful. The only success formula is to take shelter of the Lord. And this surrender sometimes appears to be a very horrible word. It is like, sometimes people say it is like, surrender, thief surrender to police. But it is not like that type of surrender. Actually, it is a surrender which a child surrenders to his mother or father. It's a very sweet phenomenon. It's not a horrible phenomenon. Sometimes people will say, surrender, So it looks like, as if some police has kept the gun on the head of and the head of thief, and he's telling surrender. That type of surrender is not very pleasing. So that is a materialistic surrender out of fear or something. But when child voluntarily surrenders out of affection and dependence on the parents, that is very sweet and loving surrender. So that type of surrender Krishna is asking here. Not the police and thief type of surrender. Krishna is asking the surrender in the form of the child who understands his dependence on the father, and then he surrenders. It's like the child goes on the road sometimes alone, and he sees, my God, from one side the truck is coming, other side the car is coming, other side this two-wheeler is coming. In this way, he gets totally bewildered, and he runs back to his father and tightly, embraces the legs of his father, because his height reaches only to the legs of the father. He tightly embraces and he says, Papa, I'll hold only your hand, and then only I'll walk. I'll not walk by myself. And that way he very sweetly surrenders to his father. So it's not horrible concept. It's a very, very gladdening, very blissful and very joyful concept to surrender to Krishna. But most of the people in this world, they are not aware of this wonderful process of surrendering to Krishna and becoming free. So they are trying to be free, but they are not able to be free. They are more and more entangling themselves. So if one can take this verse seriously, it can really change the life of the person. That is the greatest panacea for all the problems of life. Okay, so we will stop here for today. We have completed this section now. So tomorrow we'll begin with the next section now. 15th verse onwards. So very interesting, again very famous verses. Krishna is talking about various types of people who don't surrender to him, various types of people who surrender unto him. That is tomorrow, 7:15. And thank you very much. Hare Krishna. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, हरि बोल.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.